Hey everyone, I'm Matt. I'm working on the Orbital Mechanics Simulator that you're about to watch the devlog on. Hopefully I keep you entertained and keep it clear and to the point. Let's add some new features, prototype some new stuff, and hopefully have a bit of fun in the process and not get too caught up in trying to make it too perfect, as I know it's very easy to do. So I'll see you on the flip side. If you have any feedback or things you'd like me to add to the simulator, just leave a response, comment on the itch page, or anywhere else where I talk about the simulator, even on the Trello, if that's possible. And I'll do my best to have a look over it and see if it's something that's doable. Really enjoying working on the simulator at the minute, even whilst I'm down in Nottingham for a friend's birthday. So let's get into it and see what we have in the simulator already. So for this week's development practice, the main thing I really wanted to work on was this little spaceship that you can see here. We have a very rough prototype in a minute. If I do this, you can see everything that's in the scene, including all the different bodies, all moving about. You've got all the speeds and whatever else. But the main thing we're looking at this week is prototyping some new features with this ship. As you can see, if I click the ship, down here it says, press E to control this object, so we'll go ahead and do that. We should now be in control of it. The system at the minute is a little bit rough. I'm still ironing out one or two bugs, so it doesn't always take control of it. But we can see down here we have that the sun is, actually slowly moving away from the ship, and the speed of it down here as well. You can also see the mass, and eventually we'll be able to see the orbital period. Even for the planets, the orbital period isn't in yet. But then we can now use WASD to control the ship and move about. As I noted in the forum post, and it's also in the Notion document as well, one of the main things I'd like to get done this week and prototyped is some basic visual effects for the ship, to show that it's actually moving. You can see about the planet here and how we actually affect the planet's orbit, because I can show the orbit lines, and we'll now be able to see that the planet is now off its orbital path. So basically, the main thing we're wanting to do is add in the visual effects, maybe a nice little bit of UI to show which way the ship's moving, maybe which way the ship's spinning as well, because obviously it does spin, and maybe potentially a way of showing the ship fuel and the health of the ship, as well as if the inertial dampeners are turned on or off.
Let me ask you a question.
That would be probably the best way, and I think all of those things are achievable as well.
I guess, yeah.
That's the main thing as well. These things have to be achievable, because if they're not, then you can see the other planets just glided. If they're not achievable, then it becomes a lesson of scope. Of course, the new things I'm going to add in might not work first time. That's a part of prototyping, so we'll see how it goes. And yeah, I'll get some recording of the development, and whatever comes out of this video happens. It looks like I'm about to get hit by a planet, but never mind. It might be worth mentioning that as I'm currently travelling at the minute, this video might be a bit rough around the edges, but I'll try my best to keep it up to a professional standard and keep you guys entertained. It's already hard enough to read something long, let alone watch something long, so I'll try and keep it short and concise where I can. So one thing that I didn't really notice when making VFX in the past is how deep and in depth it can go. I recorded a little bit of my process here, and I think I'm still going to have to go back and edit it and work on it, because there's so much you can do with it. I remember a couple of years ago I'd seen a video of someone making a game using only Unity's particle systems, and I was amazed by it. I didn't know how they did it, but now after messing with this, I can kind of see how they did it now. They are so customizable, and I think this little thrust plume-esque thing that I've made here only really scratches the surface. I have sped up this footage massively, if you can't tell, and it is cropped into the main part of the window, just to make it a bit easier to watch. But the main thing I struggled with here was just trying to know what setting did what, and also, you can see I do a bit of searching now, and also just trying to actually get it to look good as well, whilst editing it constantly and making sure that all the particles last for the right amount of time and they have collisions and stuff, and that the plume looks natural. There is just so many settings to change here. You can see that I'm trying to make it to where they eventually fade to grey after, in theory, the exhaust has cooled off, or whatever. The exhaust gas has cooled off. But I don't know if that works yet. We're going to have to program some little code in a second to get it to actually activate when I press the forward key. But yeah, I'm really just stunned at how in-depth they are. I've used them before, and I've seen in my third year of university, that our VFX artist Adam, he did lots of work with the visual shader graph, and I still didn't realise how in-depth it could go. And I've used the shader graph myself for the sun in the simulation. But I think it's so easy to forget little things like that when you don't touch them so often. And I think it's messing with particle systems and making VFX to make the world seem more alive and immersive is definitely something that I want to do in the future more, because it makes me more T-shaped for one, and two, it's just quite fun as well. In programming, I found a lot that I'll program a pretty cool feature, but then I won't feel as good about showing it off because there's no fancy graphics to back it up. So you can see here I've just opened up paint.net, and now I'm making the sprite, which is going to be the actual smoke itself. It's really simple. It's just a white blob with a brush effect, and I did forget to disable the transparency, so I did have to go back and resave it. But besides that, it was really straightforward and clear cut. The next thing to do after this is obviously we get it in the scene, but the next thing is going to be to get a little bit of programming into the existing spaceship controller, which honestly shouldn't be too hard. And then after that, we move on to making the maneuver thrusters, because that one was the main drive, and then that's this step done, really. So the main thing that I had to keep in mind when programming this is that there is already a system in place that I'm trying to follow, especially when it comes to the actual orbital simulation itself. The spaceship is relatively new, but everything else has a structure, and even though I'm trying to go back and change everything eventually and slowly, I need to make sure that it all works. I did have a slight issue with the effect not showing in the actual game scene. I have since fixed that. In this clip it's not been fixed. Oh no, it's just been fixed right there. But yeah, the main thing I needed to try and keep in place was the structure, and the code for adding the effects and showing all the additional layer of VFX that I added in was really simple, and I'll show a screenshot of that now. Realistically, it's incredibly simple, and after this all we need to do is do the ship UI, which I made earlier. The programming for that is going to be a bit more hard, but we'll see. We'll see how that one goes. So, the main thing that happened here was I made this UI and then it crashed partway through this clip, so then I had to remake the UI. I managed to get quite a bit of the code started at least before it died, which wasn't too big of a problem because it saved anyway, but the main thing this is doing is just, it's got a reference to the ship sprite, the velocity vector pointer, and as you can see, yeah, Unity basically just was loading infinitely, like doing the script assembly. So I just killed it, and that's maybe it wasn't the best idea, and then I forgot about the temp scene, so then I couldn't recover it, and so on and so on. These things happen in game dev, we're aware of that. At this point, I was just sat on the train, literally just sat there thinking, like, oh, I've just lost a bunch of work. So that was fun. Let's get Unity open again. Okay, right, back to programming. So, yeah, I just need a couple references to some variables there. Nothing too fancy, really. Not a lot is going on in this script. We're going to make a custom function later. But here you're going to see in the update, I'm checking in a quick check to see if the canvas should be showing for the ship UI. If it is, we're going to enable it. If it's not, we're going to disable it, as would make sense. And here's that function that I mentioned, the set elements. This does need to be slightly reworked. As I realised later on, the way this is being called, it kind of needs to get, part of it needs to get called every frame. Just to update the speed. But that'll be changing soon, probably. The thing is, I'm running out of time to make this video, so I'm probably not going to be able to get the velocity arrow pointer thing working, but for the most part, I think this is a good start of the 3 goals I'd set out on, and I'm just going to keep working on them because they are 3 things I do want to get in. So those things will get added eventually, and they will be shown in the devlog on my itch page a bit later on, which is fine. And the only unfortunate thing is that I work weekends, otherwise I would keep working on this and just keep recording more footage and whatever else. So there you can see I'm just working on the functions and jumping back between 2 different scripts. The cropping here isn't great. Initially I tried to do it a different way, and then I realised that it wasn't going to work and it actually crashed Unity. The issue here is that the function is controllable object is being called every single frame. Or every single frame an item is selected, like a planet or the ship, which then trying to get all of these components every single frame is terrible and it should never be done. Basically, whoever's watching this, never do what I'm doing because it's not a good idea. But I later realised and I moved them to the right place, and then Unity stopped crashing. I literally wrote, listen, I'm not proud of these next few lines, which I wasn't. But sometimes in prototyping you need to make rough code. So at this point, yeah, I was starting up Unity, waiting for it to come back, all confident that it was going to work. You'll see the second I click the ship, the Unity just freezes, which wasn't the plan.
So that's the result of the prototyping that we managed to get done. I didn't get everything done, but I think I got a good amount done really, and I'm now back home, hence the mic improvement. But you can see that we can click on the ship and it has some nice UI that I'm going to improve over the next couple of days, and it's also got the nice little particle effect to go along with it. I now just need to get the other little maneuvering thrusters in, and then realistically there's not too much more else I want to add in terms of VFX and stuff and making it look a bit fancier. I think for a really basic prototype of the spaceship mechanic within the simulator, it works really well. It lets you get around and interact with the different planetary bodies and see how they react to you as well. So of course it doesn't actually feature them interacting with orbits and stuff yet, or you can't set your own orbit, but that is something I want to look into in the future. I just think that's going to take a lot longer, and I am already running late on this itself, so it's now Monday and this was meant to be in at least a couple days ago by my own milestone. So yeah, this is it for now. It was fun making this devlog. I've not done anything like this in a while, so I'll leave you with the rest of the footage, and if you've got any feedback or things you want to see me work on next in the simulator, just leave it in the replies, or reach out to me in any way that you know how. Cheers.